You move too soon. Then you move again. Then again. Each move weaker than the last. You fill the silence with noise. You send the follow-up email before the first one lands. You explain before anyone asks for an explanation. You clarify before anyone is confused. You apologize for taking up space before anyone tells you to leave. You think more motion means more progress. You think the person who is always moving is the person who is always winning. But motion is not progress. Motion is what you do when you are afraid to wait. And you have been afraid to wait your entire life. You have a move for every silence, a word for every gap, a message for every pause, a reason for every hesitation, even the ones that are not yours to fill. You have trained yourself to believe that filling is the same as doing, that noise is the same as power, that the person who speaks first, acts first, decides first, wins. But Musashi did not speak first. Musashi did not act first. Musashi did not even arrive first. He arrived 3 hours late. Sasaki Kojiro, the greatest swordsman in Japan, stood on that beach and waited. Musashi carved a sword from a boat or on the way there and had never used that weapon before. He stepped onto the sand with a piece of wood and no plan. Kojiro drew a perfect blade. Musashi raised his oar. One strike. Kojiro fell. The duel lasted seconds. The preparation lasted a lifetime. The difference between them was not speed, not strength, not the weapon. The difference was timing. Kojiro moved when he thought he should. Musashi moved when the moment was actually ready. Kojiro filled the space with speed. Musashi filled the space with nothing and let the nothing do the work. And you have never once let the nothing do anything. You fill it the moment it arrives. That was his fire. Here's yours. You think timing is about being fast. You think the person who moves first wins. You have been trained your whole life to believe this. Reply immediately. Decide quickly. Say yes before someone else does. Fill the silence before it becomes awkward. Strike before the other person strikes you. But Musashi did not strike first. He let Kojiro stand on that beach for 3 hours, sword drawn, watching the horizon, getting angrier with every minute that passed. By the time Musashi walked onto the sand, Kojiro was not fighting Musashi. He was fighting his own frustration, his own rush, his own need to end something that had already begun without him. Musashi did not win because he was faster. He won because timing is not a race. Timing is a trap. And he let Kojiro walk into it alone. You are Kojiro. You rush. You fill. You cannot stand the silence because the silence is where you hear yourself thinking. And you do not like what you hear. So you move. You send the message. You make the decision. You strike before the moment is ready, not because it is the right move, but because waiting feels like losing. But waiting is not losing. Waiting is the ground beneath the strike. Without it, your sword is just a stick. You have never learned to wait. Not really. You have learned to pause, but a pause is just a held breath before the next rush. Waiting is different. Waiting is the absence of need. It is the confidence that the moment will arrive. Musashi did not chase. He stood. He waited. And when the moment came, he moved once. That was his fire. Now find yours. The gap between you and Musashi is not your reflexes, not your instincts, not your ability to read a room or anticipate what comes next. The gap is your addiction to action. You believe that doing something is always better than doing nothing, that motion equals momentum, that the person who is always moving is always winning. You have built your entire identity around being someone who does not stop, who responds, who is always on, who never lets a silence sit long enough to become uncomfortable. But look at what that costs. How many emails did you send that could have been one? How many decisions did you make in 10 minutes that needed 10 days? How many times did you speak when silence was the stronger answer? How many times did you explain yourself when saying nothing would have told the other person everything they needed to know? That you were sure, that you were grounded, that you did not need their approval to take the next step. You are exhausted, not because you are doing too much, because you are doing too much of the wrong thing at the wrong time. You are a machine that never stops, not because stopping is dangerous, but because you are afraid of what you will hear when the noise finally goes quiet. Musashi was not a machine. He was a still point, and from that still point he moved exactly once. Kojiro moved constantly. He swung and missed and swung again. Each miss opened him further. Each miss told Musashi exactly where his balance broke, where his breath caught, where his fear lived. By the time Musashi raised his oar, he already knew where to put it. Kojiro had shown him, not with words, with every piece of motion that should have been stillness. You are doing the same thing. Every time you rush, every time you over-explain, every time you send the message that could have waited another hour, you are showing everyone where to find the opening. You are Kojiro on the beach, sword already drawn, burning energy, broadcasting your impatience to anyone watching. And you wonder why the same problems keep finding you. The person across from you is not the problem. The timing is the problem. You are moving in the wrong moment and calling it effort. You are filling the wrong silence and calling it communication. You are striking before you are ready and calling it decisive. It is not decisive. It is afraid. And the cost is not just the missed strike. The cost is what happens after. The rushed decision that needs 3 follow-up decisions to fix. The email that opens a conversation you were not ready to have. The move that tells everyone watching that you did not trust the silence enough to let it work. The second strike is a confession that the first one was not enough. Musashi never needed a second strike. He waited until the first one was the only one necessary. You throw 10. He threw 1. That was his timing. Now find yours. So here is what changes. Tomorrow morning, before you open anything, sit in silence for 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no voice in your head rehearsing what you should have said yesterday. Just the room and your breath. Do not meditate. Do not plan. Do not try to be productive with the silence. Just sit. And notice how badly you want to move. Notice the itch, the pull toward the phone, the voice that says this is wasteful, that time is money, that silence is falling behind while everyone else is moving. That itch is Kojiro on the beach, sword drawn, waiting for someone who has not arrived yet, getting angrier, getting tighter, getting slower without knowing it. That itch is the enemy, not your boss, not your competition, not your circumstances. The itch. Learn to sit with it. 1 minute longer than feels comfortable. Then 2. Then 5. That is your first strike. Not the email. Not the decision. Not the move that everyone will see. The sitting. The waiting. The refusal to fill what does not need to be filled. The moment you choose stillness over the itch. Musashi trained for that moment his entire life. You can start tomorrow morning. Stop filling. Start waiting. I strike once, and I strike true. I strike once, and I strike true. I strike once, and I strike true.